Summer Solstice TLC Open Mic, June 20th. Join me and my internet friends, that's you, for an evening of sharing and self-expression. Okay? It'll be live from my driftwood fort on the sandy beach of the Cosmic Navel, aka the Earth Dome that I built in my backyard. Okay, this is real. Bring something to share from your heart. A poem, a song, interpretive scarf dancing. Okay, this is a safe space. Whatever it is, you'll have up to 5 minutes to express yourself on this groundless ground. And all you have to do is just click the link to sign up and we'll put you on the list. One other thing, we will be accepting pre-recorded submissions, but we're going to prioritize persons who show up in the flesh, in this fleshless flesh. Okay? I can't wait to be with you. By and by. Welcome, my internet friends. That was my first advertisement that I've played. Okay. Welcome to the Rigel Show. We're coming to you live from the Earth Dome, which I built in my backyard, a literal place, aka the mystical driftwood fort on the sandy beach of the Cosmic Navel, where song runs through all of reality. Hey Sam, this space is a playful Theotokian riparian zone that seeks to integrate traditional values, modern values, progressive postmodern values, and that which is emerging on the horizon of the evolution of culture and consciousness, postmodern values in all of its glory. It's a place where we sell Christmas cards door to door year round. And in the words of the great mystic teacher, Sherry, it's a meaning that is hidden within the mystery of the person. That this is the thing we know that we don't know that we know. All right, I'm going to invite anyone in. Here we go. Hey, Sam.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Nice to see your face.
Good to see you.
And nice to see Ethan out there as well. Ethan, you're welcome to jump on in here.
Can I just say I love your use of language? I know I've said it before, but it's so wonderful.
Well, it's very loose. I'm loosey-goosey with my language use.
Good.
So today, I know that there's a Paul Vanderklay estuary that's going to be happening at noon. So I realize if people need to drop out, totally cool with me. But I was going to continue my little ritual of sharing a track off of my Consciousness album. So if you're up for it, I'm going to go ahead and share that next track. And Ethan, Sherry, if you're out there, y'all are welcome to join in here as well. But just a quick note, this is track 4 on my Consciousness concept album. And the album is basically a musical interpretation. Oh, hey, Sherry.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Sherry.
Fresh Daisy. I'm just explaining my album to the internet, all of the 3 viewers that are watching right now.
Yeah.
basically, there's the album is based around this theory, integral theory, developmental theory, this idea that culture evolves through kind of predictable stages as well as consciousness evolving through predictable stages of development. And the problem with these like meta theories that try to explain the mystery of God into this like system is they end up they tend to turn into party tricks where you have kind of free reign to put people in boxes and make sweeping generalizations about them and basically feel better than everybody. So I thought that one way to soften the edges of this theory is to just do like, an interpretive dance, basically using music and blobs of color and story. So this track, we've gone through beige, which is really not even a cultural system, and then purple which is kind of the mythic magic system, it's barely even civilization, and then red, which is this like warrior stage. It's kind of like they call it the street configuration in modern, sociological terms, I think. And then this next one is blue, and this one is referred to as like traditionalism or the kind of conformist stage. I call it the Montuno stage, but I'll stop talking and let's just start listening, okay? All right, I played my advertisement. So now let's bring this to the stage. And I think I have to make this full screen, right? Let's make this full screen. Oh, beautiful. All right, here we go. Can y'all hear that? All right. That's my interpretation of this value energy that's working inside of everybody. Do y'all have any thoughts, reflections bubbling up? Want to change the subject? Be like, Raj, let's actually move on.
That was very lovely. A lot of things percolated up for me, so I'll just
Sure.
kind of share stream of
Yeah.
consciousness.
Yeah.
First of all, the Peugeot Vervaeke conversation they just had about what is spirit, they introduced this concept of AI needing to have like long-term kind of memory, so over 4 hours. And so this idea of it extending from one point to another in time, sort of being able to transcend the time that it's in now. And I'm thinking about my own personhood as something that sort of, what is it that holds me together, as I'm this sort of, was it Thesean ship that all of my cells change out, but I'm not the same person over
Right.
time. And there was something about your metaphor of this going up the mountain, of this like musical kind of this like beat that like can bring together, the rhythm can hold together these two separate places. And the beat goes on. You better move
Yeah.
yourself. uh, yeah, I don't know. That's some of the things percolating.
Yeah. How about you, Sherry? You are muted.
I wrote down dancing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dancing, Lord of the dance, and he who has ears to hear.
Mm.
There was a line in there, I think it's with us forever. Right? And I have a feeling you were playing on the word think there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's leading into the next kind of energy system stage of
Yeah.
development. So
But
it's,
what's cool about that is that you're highlighting that someone's starting to think on their own for themselves,
yeah.
but they're also not aware of where those thoughts are coming from, which is really cool, I think.
Yeah.
And when Jesus tells parables, he says things like, "He who has eyes to see, he who has ears to hear," and of course that there's a little bit of a nudge towards mimetic rivalry in those statements. It nudges people to want to be that person who has the ears to hear and the eyes to see, which initiates, in my mind anyway, because this is how I am. It initiates a certain curiosity, right? So what is it that he's really saying? I got to listen. I got to attend, right? And so then you refocus your attention, and then that reveals, that's revelation, right? That reveals when you refocus your attention. I think, like Martin Shaw said it best, we make things holy by the kind of attention we give it, right?
Oh, love that.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh man.
So it's I love it because it's developmental, right? So it's progressive. It's it's stages of development, but you can initiate those. Like that's what Jesus does. He initiates those. He pushes you into that field of, I don't know where I am. I want to know where I am. I want to know what he's talking about. Oh, look, I see something over there I never saw before. How come I never saw it before? And the questions just keep.
Yeah. There's something gentle about, there can be something gentle. There can also be something very manipulative, but there can be something hospitable and gentle about kind of knowing where the person in front of you is coming from and being able to meet them where they're at and not like force them into a stage of development that's like skipping a bunch of stuff, and just kind of being able to love them where they're at and maybe stretch them in a direction that is like possibly the next step. And, not that I really know how to do that well, but we're working on it. Ethan from Alaska. What do you have? What's kind of bubbling up for you?
Well, I only listened to the track. I had to go to a different room, but I know it's blue. So if memory serves, that's rules and that's team.
Yeah. Traditionalism, sacrifice for the greater good.
When you were talking about like stretching someone or being stretched yourself, when I first learned spiral dynamics, it was in the context of like teaching and preaching. So it was
Really?
Yeah.
Where? Okay, can we just like side rabbit trail for a second? I didn't know that. I forgot that you had some brush with spiral dynamics. How did you come across it?
A decade ago in Laguna Beach at a Rob Bell conference.
The Rob Bell. Okay.
So it is a little different because I think he kind of put his own twist and spin on the whole shtick.
Yeah.
But what you said about manipulative, I think, is really interesting. And I think that's what is like well, I guess, and what Sherry says about like having eyes to see, having ears to hear, and like it's more like breadcrumbs than it is like shoving anyone into the next thing or whatever that is. And then it's like for myself personally, it's like where do I find breadcrumbs? Like if I want to continue to grow and pursue knowledge, wisdom, to know more of God, where do I find breadcrumbs?
Amen.
Well, I would even say it's like seeds being sown instead of breadcrumbs. Like there's something to me more beautiful about the idea of seeds rather than breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs they can be thought of as condescending, like here's my breadcrumbs. Or but seeds are pregnant with potential. Right? So when you're casting seeds, which is the parable of the sower, right? Then those seeds can grow up and they can house a whole flock of birds, like Jesus describes. So the mustard seed, So there's a one and a many and contained right there within the seed itself.
Maybe I want to steel man the breadcrumb just a little bit here. Maybe the seed and the breadcrumb are the same thing, depending on where you're coming from. I mean, sometimes it is just licking the breadcrumbs off the floor, and you don't know where they're coming from. They're just coming from above you, but they contain the DNA, the pregnant fractal glory of a seed, and baby, you eat that manna breadcrumb and it starts growing stuff.
I don't remember the name of it, Rigel, but what's the bread that you offer to everyone after the Eucharist? What's it called?
Prosphora.
That's
Prosphora,
right.
yes.
Yeah.
I should know this.
because that's kind of what that is. It's breadcrumbs. That's breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
And yet it is so it's just like infused with love to get to offer that to people, especially it's I always one of my big struggles with like closed communion in Orthodoxy was just like it doesn't resonate with my vibe. Like I am very open, welcoming, but the prosphora is something that is part of our tradition that it's like communion adjacent without all of the commitment and responsibility and like
right.
Yeah. So I don't know where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam. Were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna say that that notion of love, and I got the sense watching your video of like this maternal feeling of peace, stability, kind of nurturing that allows for the growth. And I think that's Christ as well. He's loving us so that, you know, he can also push us. And when you have that solid base, even as a child develops, it's like they have that base of like, mom loves me no matter what, and like I'm safe, I'm sound, this is good. And then that you can kind of from that base try and reach up above to, well, what is this curious thing? You know, I don't have to be scared to find this because there's a loving connection that's here. And hospitality is what's allowing that prosper, but that's a beautiful sign of that when you go in. I'm in that place right now as an inquirer where I go in and I'm like, I can't have the Eucharist. And
Yeah.
it's like so soul achingly like sad, but it's, and then at least I can go and enjoy the Prospera. And I'm like, okay, this is still, and people sometimes bring it to me and it's like
Yeah.
such an honor that they would bring that. And it's like, still, I feel like I'm being included. So
Yeah.
I did bring a poem because you was talking about
Oh.
traditionalism. You said to bring stuff, and
Yes,
I probably have to
please.
go in like less than 10 minutes. So
Well, yeah, then why don't you share your poem first, and then you can take off whenever you need to.
Okay, because you'd said something about it was traditionalism, and I just thought like, okay, my tradition is I've been thinking a lot about like the rootlessness of my own upbringing. You know, I heard the word deracinated, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. What's the other word? Domicide, just sort of this experience of homelessness. And part of that is connected to my own hometown. I grew up in a small hometown in the middle of the country, or the middle of the state of Michigan here, called Owasso, and had just sort of an experience of expulsion from that, that ended up, you know, it's still a place that I have hold dear in my heart, but in order for me to go back to it, I had to write this poem so that I could feel like, okay, how can I process all of it?
Oh,
So
awesome.
that's what this is about. Hopefully it connects.
Great.
Okay, so it's called Owasso. What hidden beauty, veiled as a bride before glory is revealed, what tender kindness shines inside, and by compassion sealed. Your docile soul and hearty grit has tempered my own life. From days of old, middle of the mid has mentored my lone strife. You've cared for me, you've shared with me, you've spared me no expense. Your prayers for me and scares for me I can never recompense. Homeland of mine, my heart, my soul, you've been a dear old friend. Home hand divine, thy art full dole, it is here our love song ends. You raised me, you changed me, you made me who I am. You praised me, you saved me, you shaped Sam into Sam.
Oh, you got me. Shaped Sam into Sam at the. I got a little choke in my throat right there, buddy. Wow, what a beautiful way to. I mean, I feel like that really resonates with what you were saying about this nurturing sense of this blue stage of kind of nurturing and bringing you to a point where you are actually now exiting the little town that formed you, Sam into Sam.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, when I was listening, I was thinking, this is how gratitude works. This is what gratitude does. It shows us the divine in things, right?
Mm.
The hand of God at work. Yeah.
Mm.
You say you're moving back home, or you wrote that before you had to go back home?
Whenever I live within a close enough proximity that I would travel back and see like my grandma who lives in that area. So it was like when I knew I had to like go just be present in that area. I kind of wrote this after probably several months or a year or so getting some distance.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's beautiful how like getting distance from a thing allows you to see it in a different way, to then contain that in a piece of art and then share that. Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. Yeah, it really was intentional. Obviously, I could talk about all of the. I just learned in this time like of deep soul turmoil that if I don't like basically bring some level of adoration to a thing, I'll become bitter about it. And so I almost have to like transform all of the hard parts and just sort of redeem it into like, yeah. And then gratitude, like you said, you see the divine. I am very grateful.
Yeah, and what a beautiful response to that problem that you are recognizing, writing poetry in response to that, to kind of integrate it. That what if everyone did that with like the things they're struggling with?
I had a similar experience. It was not as long ongoing as being raised in a certain environment, but when I was in India, I was being supported by my church. Like the elders had sent me out. They laid hands on me and blessed me and all this stuff. And then halfway through my trip, I got a letter from them saying that they're revoking their blessing. And the problem for them from the start was that I was a single mother, and they didn't know how to navigate those very difficult moral conundrums, right? Of how do we send somebody out into the world, right, to minister to others, but then there's this thing, So anyway, I guess while I was gone, they reconferred, and then they decided that they were going to, hitch their wagon to morality. So that's what they did. And I was receiving money from various members of the church just per post. They would send me some cash, and it all just stopped. Done. Right. So and now I'm like broke in India. And one little old lady kept her $20 coming, right? $20, man, that was a lifesaver, I tell you. But I had written a song in because of the, just the feelings of gratitude I had towards these people. I had written a song that I wanted to sing to them when I got back to the church. And then that happened, and I picked up the song, and I was like ready to go. And I went, can you sing this song? Can you still sing this song? That was the question I kept asking. And I did. And I wouldn't have done it had I not meant every word of it.
Right.
Because that would have been passive aggressive, right? So it's like I did it. And the fact that I was able to do it meant that I had really put all that stuff behind me, like in a healthy way, right? Kind of like what Sam's poem is about, it's like I could go that other route, right? And like this is the two sides of the coin. Like you were talking earlier about manipulation. Was Jesus being coercive when he said, "He who has eyes to see and ears to hear"? Yeah, he was. Mm-hmm. He was manipulating. But there's a good manipulation, and then there's a bad one, right? Like if you want your baby to walk, you have to let go and entice them to a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Kids is like, it just makes all of this a lot more clear and practical. You're like, okay, I gotta actually live this out in a way that works for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just gonna exclude Ethan. You don't have kids, do you?
Not yet.
Yeah. Let's just talk about kid stuff so Ethan can't relate.
Yeah.
I love it because my fiance and I are getting married in September and then hope to have kids soon. So it's like, please talk about kids because I want to be a good father. And like, I only learned how to do that by listening to good parents, people who care. So please.
I was so worried as a single mom, when I had my daughter, I was so worried she was going to turn into a spoiled, rotten brat. And someone said to me once, "Do you like spoiled, rotten brats?" And I said, "No, can't stand them." She goes, "Well, then she won't be one."
Right.
I was like, okay, I got that. I got it.
I feel like it's the things we're not looking out for that we end up, that are, the stuff you don't even think of. That's probably the one. Like our kids, it's like, we don't want our kids, like similar thing. Like they gotta be hardworking. They gotta be, they can't just be lazy or whatever. But maybe they won't be lazy, but maybe they will be, maybe they'll lack grace, or maybe they'll lack kind of elegance or charm or charity or something. But you can't do it. I mean, it's all the Lord. It's all mercy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's funny, but a lot of people they don't like to take credit for their kids' wrongdoings. I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know why you did that, but they want to take all the credit for the good stuff, and I saw that and I thought, okay, you have to let go of that too. Like you were talking about, you want your kids to be hardworking. One of the things I've noticed with my kids because like my son just had his 37th birthday yesterday. And I have a daughter who's 42. And like they are hardworking, but not in the same areas I am, which could cloud my judgment of what hardworking is, right? Like I might think because they don't keep a neat household, they're not hardworking, but yet they're putting so much energy into something that I would never do, So I don't know if that's cleaning your room is a good thing, I think, but
Clean your room.
Clean your room. But yeah, so yeah, you have to let go of it all, Sam.
Yeah,
that's the hard part.
Yeah.
I actually wrote a little free write poem that kind of relates to your poem, Sam, that I may share later on, but I want to make sure everyone else has a chance to share something from the heart, if they so desire.
A share. Ethan's got a share. He's been sharing on the internet. I've been watching.
Yeah, Ethan, you got anything?
Yeah, there's a poem about home that I went to find after I listened to Sam's because his reminded me of mine. When I moved to Los Angeles and I wrote this in Los Angeles about home in Wisconsin. So it was, listening to Sam, I was the home and the trying to reframe home. And this is also kind of a love poem, but it's a failed love. So sure, I'll share.
Thanks.
It's called Remnants of the Ice Age. I went to see her in the fall in a Midwest skyscraper city I swore I'd never move to. The plane galloped through fire, sprinting across time zones towards the heart of America. The mountains far behind looked like cardboard cutouts, backdropped against God's rising stage light. Over my shoulder, the whole West Coast in sight. But Los Angeles was never home. Home is leaves falling off trees. Home is winter daydreams knowing summer love is still 6 months away. Home is carrying her piggyback around the trampoline in a front yard full of weeds. She left the hospital to see me, but I was busy talking about death. She fell asleep and skinned her knees. I stayed awake and had the same dream of her and me, of a home between ancient maple trees, with a laundry line taut with linen sheets, beside a hand-built table tarnished by water rings from one too many whiskey neats. She says my name and it sounds like jazz, like the 1920s after dark. It reverberates and squeals, never coming to a complete stop, just rolling on like the remnants of the Ice Age. I flew back west that fall, away from home and the leaves and all the winters I daydreamed of, all the summers I spent in love. I flew back west that fall, away from the girl I carry piggyback in my dreams. I ain't with her now, but I'll see her in the spring. As she shows up out front like wild petunias shoving their way through dirt mounds. As she dances, prances, romances circles around me like black and yellow labs quartering through barley fields without sound. As she lifts my chin like a pail of wet sand, prepared for castle making out of Great Lakes ground. I ran out of time in LA, knowing back home, all the trees were dying.
Wow, Ethan.
Oh, man, you razzle-dazzle me Ethan. Wow, that was really beautiful.
I can relate so much to the imagery, all that Midwest imagery of just like, that's home, man. I can feel it. I can see it as you said it.
I miss it. I can't wait to be back to the Midwest.
Yeah, I could hear it in your voice.
I've got one that's a little bit gloomy.
Go for it.
But I wanted to say, it's funny that you guys landed on home, because I was thinking this morning before you even got on, I was up doing my chores. I thought, I want to talk to Rigel about place.
Mm.
Just had to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, it's wild how we're circling around the same theme.
Well, Martin Shaw's been talking about it for a long time, and I've been thinking about it for a long time. I heard a podcast a long time ago about, it was with that guy, Sam. Do you remember him? The filmmaker. I think he teaches at Biola.
Is it Dr. Nathan Jacobs?
No. It's darn it. He was going to do a documentary on the corner, but I think that fell through. And he has his own podcast. Anyway, he talked about the 7 basic plots of a story, like that there are only 7 plots, right? And then there's setting. So there's plot and setting. And I got, like, my brain just took that and like it was like a freaking marathon. Still going, because some stories, stories are going to be repetitive in that sense, right? Because there's only so many plots, but the setting is everything. So yeah, I don't know I can't say more about it, but anyway, I'll just read this. It's called King. The fog is clearing. We are seeing the aftermath. And where with the anger? Our cries rise up, blown away by the wind. And where with the anger? You carried us up to a place that has no name. Our youth vanishes, and we stand with feeble knees. And where with the anger? Pain covers all of us. We long for the king, but you took him away without asking, without thinking. Turned in on yourself, realizing your dreams. You have taken ours away. And where shall we go with our anger? It rages, it burns us. It eats holes in our souls. With smug satisfaction, you look out over your garden and can't even see the weeds growing up between the useless greenery you've planted.
Oof. Good stuff. It took me like 2 years of therapy to admit my anger.
I've not struggled. I've been hyper aware of it for a long time and always trying to deal with it. So, and it would come out usually when I was really drunk. I wasn't one of those, I love you. I was like rage against the machine, and I could tell you a few stories, but I'm on YouTube. Maybe one day.
Yeah. Wow.
It's interesting.
Go for it.
No, go, Ethan.
There was some line in there that was like, what should we do with our anger? Or where should we put all our anger?
Yeah, where will we go with it?
And
where should we go with our anger?
Where shall we go with our anger? For some reason, what that took me to was, Rigel, your song, last week was red, I think.
Yeah.
Last time was red.
Yeah.
And that kind of just raw ego. And then that coming into like a tribe and a rules and traditionalism. And it's like that anger is not gone there. And it's like, how do you, because wasn't the last word of your song like, can I think for myself or can I have my own thoughts? And so those two ideas just kind of merged in my head of like, where do I put all of this anger? Can I think for myself? I don't know.
Well, I was going to say about that, like, you know, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. That's why the question is, where do I go with it, right? Where do I funnel this? Because I was listening. Are you guys familiar with Rollo May? I just discovered him. Oh, he talks mostly about anxiety and how it's the precursor to creativity. You would really love it. He's a psychoanalyst, an older guy. Like, someone sent me a reel, like an Instagram reel with him talking about anxiety. I can send it to you guys.
Yeah, please.
And yeah, and you know, our culture today, our like modernity is just trying to numb the anxiety, right? But meanwhile, it's the anxiety, in his opinion, that is pushing us towards creativity. Because when and I really related to it because I had a dream once when I was in a high state of anxiety, like I was on all kinds of psych meds and everything. That down in the basement was Picasso, and he was this little short, colorful. Well, he was like this tall. He was about 4 feet, and he was really beautiful. Like, his clothes were so colorful and textured, and velvets and patchworks of different textures and colors. And it was like, and I was like, oh, who are you? And he goes, I'm Picasso. And he goes, dance with me, Sherry. And he reached out his hand. And I'm like, I reached out for him, really scared, because I knew I was joining myself to something that was really powerful. But as soon as I touched him, he turned to ash, just on the floor. And so when I heard this Rollo May guy, I was like, he's exactly right. Because that's what my dream was telling me. I ended up figuring it out years later. Like, I ended up coming to some kind, but not as like beautifully put as he did. Because I realized that I had been quashing my creativeness. And then I thought back to that dream. It was actually after I did the Big 5 personality test. And yeah, so there's just something else to think about, you know, like anxiety and anger. I mean, we always think about these things as being quote unquote bad, but they are. So they must be for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Thank you, Ethan, for defending our ground. Nice to see you out there, Luke.
Join us. No, that's beautiful. I've really tried to, and maybe you could help me with this, Sherry, because I'm the kind of person who is very much tried to, I don't know if just blunt or pretend. I'm not a terribly angry person generally, but I don't know if there's some like depths there but there is like, I feel like I want to be more connected to that sensation of anger, to like actually channel energy into a forward moment. Like, I do feel that sort of anxiety around not creating. I feel like that like sense of angst when I'm not actually producing, which I think is healthy. But I don't know, like, I know some people who are like, yeah, I get angry and then I just like go get a bunch of stuff done, and that's just part of their like normal cycles of life. Or like they've learned how to like channel it appropriately. And I feel like I don't, that fire, I feel like I need to cultivate it more. So I'm more like, you know, like, I gotta take ownership of this, you know, like,
yeah, it's I think some people are afraid of the strong emotions because, well, first of all, I think that the culture we live in really discourages emotion. And secondly, strong emotions are hard to control.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you have to be the bull in the china shop, right? To figure it out. Okay, well, if I make the turn that quick, I'm going to knock all the plates off the shelf. So I have to do this differently. But not doing anything is the worst thing you can, like training horses, for example. I remember going, I literally went outside with a book and a horse, and I went step by step. And I get to this point where I'm ready to give up. And he goes, just so you know, making mistakes is normal. If you're not making mistakes, you're not doing anything.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, yeah. This is my mantra from now on, And he goes, and so just go back to the next step and do that one over again, right? So yeah, it's trial and error, folks. Like you have to do the thing, right?
I like Luke's contribution here. Being angry is scary for me. Be angry and do not sin is a hell of a commandment. Anyone want to reflect on that? I mean, I think that's the threading the needle between channeling this anger. I mean, maybe that's what poetry is for, and music. There's actually, I feel like there are times when I have been performing and I have channeled, like I have felt almost an anger in my performance, in my musical performance, and I was able to do things that I can't do if I'm not like in the immediate energetic source of that anger.
Well, I mean, all I would say is if you know all that, if you know that anger is a tool which could push you towards co-creation with God, then that's where you channel it. That's what you say. You say you have to submit, right, to God's authority. There's this practice in Orthodoxy. Jeremy told me about this. That if let's say there's a weeping icon or something, a myrrh-bearing icon, they exercise it 3 times before they use it in, as a myrrh bearer, as a miracle. Okay.
Mm.
So assume that whatever's happening inside of you is not good.
Mm.
Go there first. Exercise it 3 times. And if it's still there, then you better do something. Someone's lighting a fire under your ass. So you better move.
When you said that, Rigel, it reminded me of when I had been angry and did some poetry writing. And actually, I think it turned out pretty good. I can hit it with you if you like.
Yeah, please.
Okay. All right. I was like indignant, I would say. I don't know. Rumor has it you lost your mind, started calling seers blind, started calling blind men whole, started castigating with vitriol. Conflagration is a dirty word if the fire falls on the absurd and touches hearts as hard as stone to shake them off their selfish bone. But fire has a strangish way of burning through the strangish's gay veil of light, when actually, factually, love is the light all day. Dying, dusty, dirty dudes fail to heal your platitudes, count your peckishness as rude, and continue on their way. But love is light and love is pure, for brother, sister, mother, sure, motives are great, but the censure does not with incense burn. Instead, it fires purest taste for those with dusty, grimy face, while Jesus stands outside your gates. When will your big brain learn? Jesus loved the least of these. He cared for them on bended knees. He cast not out sinner fleas, because he loves sinners, yes. If he reached down to touch the dirt with hands of love, vulnerable to hurt, washed his hands in pure water, and loved the sinner best, then why don't you and I choose love for smallest runt, tiniest dove? For every least from God above has a soul too. Instead, I fear we turn aside and wash our hands in cyanide, while Jesus gave himself, he died for every bowl of stew.
That's it. Right on.
Man,
Energy in that one.
That reminds me of the Psalms of David. Like a lot of Psalms, there's this kind of self-reflective turning point where, I mean, old David, he's bringing like all of life to his Psalms. And, but there oftentimes there's this like moment halfway through, or, you know, somewhere there's this kind of like turning point of like offering it up. And it's almost this like metanoia, this turning point, but it's like you can't have that turning point without first feeling it and experiencing it, the hard emotion. So I really like that.
Really good.
Yeah, my favorite line was "Wash our hands with cyanide."
Ugh. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I have a. Want me to share my?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like it's somewhere between total free write and poetry, so it's that liminal space. But so over the last weekend, I went to New Mexico from Austin, and a couple of buddies of mine. We went out there and they helped me build a shade structure to install our solar panels so we can have power, so we can have AC, so that we can do Zoom calls out in the desert when it's like, 100 degrees out.
You gotta share the desert, though.
Yeah. And something that happens frequently when I'm out there working on the structure is like I'll run into a new neighbor. Everyone has these like kind of acre to 2 acre to 5 acre like plots of desert. And they always ask me like, "Oh, are you moving out here permanently?" And I always like kind of don't really have a great answer. I say like, "No, but maybe sometime." And I don't know if that's like the point of this property, but I don't want to like get into it. So I was having this like argument, and I can see in their eyes, they're kind of like glazing over a little bit. They're kind of like confused, but trying not to show it. And it's a very complicated thing that's happening. So I was having this like argument in my head with, someone I had just met, trying to explain the unexplainable. So I'm just gonna lay this on you and see what happens. Okay, it's called Leaving and Coming Back.
Nope, another home thing.
Yeah, I know. Oh, totally. I know. It's just like, here we are. There is something about leaving and coming back to the city, the routines of progress through a time gap in my other life. Quite felt for a better chance to get it right. Try again, leaving and coming back. Where is back? Where is the birthplace of my heart? He asked, "Are you more city or country?" I am torn in the murky, low-tide pools of Argentinian asado potatoes where the smoke infuses the whole potato. Finding where the parallel stream lands side by side, there is no way except to stop and listen to the leaving and coming back. When we meet for the first time and I haven't fully communed my being with you, and I want a little bit more of you, there's something about leaving and coming back. When they decided it would be better for the group if we shot him and buried him in a special place, there's something about leaving and coming back. When they ask if we are moving out here permanently, where it's so quiet you can hear the raven's wings beating the air, I say, my purpose isn't the destination. There's something about leaving and coming back. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Well, that's asceticism. This is why I love it so much. Leaving and coming back, right? We and I think I don't even know if I said that here. Anyway, it's also respiration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's procession. It's prostration. It's happening all the time. I mean, it's like
It's kind of like me with my book too. Like you know, like I leave chapter 4, I move to chapter 5. It doesn't work out. I have to go back to chapter 4, but I have to keep moving. That's the key. You have to keep moving. It doesn't matter what direction you're going in, I think.
Yeah.
You know, this is what bothers me about Christians and their whole idea of backsliding. Like, you know, this conventional idea of backsliding. Is deconstruction backsliding? I don't think so. I think we, you know, we're going to deconstruct more than once in our lifetime. We are, as children, going to be shedding our skin over and over and thank God. Otherwise, we'd be like in a skin that was just way too small for our bodies. We call that stunted growth, right? But everyone has taken these ideas and turned them into, you've left the tribe.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
But doesn't
kind of
it,
angry. Just saying.
doesn't it equate to leaving the tribe? I mean, maybe not for everyone. Like in my experience with deconstruction, it required me to leave my tribe, and it like
Sure.
I lost a lot of friends, and I don't think I'll regain those friends. And it took me a really long time to be grateful for the relationships for what they were for 20 years, and then to be okay that they're no longer. And it was a whole community of people that, I mean, like, I don't think I'll ever have a homecoming with my original tribe. You know, I don't think I'll have that moment of like, oh, we welcome you back. And I don't think I even want that or looking for that. And so then it becomes like, okay, well, now do I construct or be a part of constructing a new tribe? And then does that mean that I know that even this someday might have to go away for me?
You know, in the way I envision it, because I always envision everything, like, so the image I have that goes with it is that you're moving along on a path and you catch up to a group of people and you travel together for a long time or short time, depending. And then they say, well, we're going to take a break here. And you're like, well, I got more energy than I know what to do with. I got to keep moving. And you keep moving. And then you catch up, you know, like, I know what, and I don't want to sound condescending, but I know that when you're younger, it really matters to have a lot of people around you, peers, especially when you're raising a family, actually. And, but as you grow older, that just grows. I have to find a good word. Cumbersome. Because at a certain stage, you become like this vortex that there's so many worlds that spin out from. You can almost not approach any other. Like if you imagine you're a little blob. I'd love to see you do something with this, Rigel. Because, you know, you go from having children to having grandchildren, right? And you know, like, okay, here's an example. I gave my son-in-law a book, Back to the Basics, a book that I had for many years in the 90s, as somebody gave it to me, I think. And it's just got all these, you know, handcrafting things, and it's a Reader's Digest tome. And he goes, you don't want this? And I'm like, I only have so many hours in a day. Right. And I did all that stuff. Like I was like, oh, I got to learn this. I got to learn that. I got to, you know, and now everything has found its place. Priorities have been set. Like, what's the most important thing? Do I really need to learn how to make a fire with a flint? You know, or do I just need to light the barbecue and get dinner on and then go work on my you know, chicken coop, for example. So I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to express how when I look back on those things and the loss of friendship, which I suffered too, and everyone will. And it's not necessarily that you fall apart because you hate each other. It's just, it's like all of a sudden you just, your worlds are no longer colliding. Like you're literally on another orbit, in another orbit, I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Listening to, I don't remember when, but PVK had done a chat with Paul Rene, and Nicholas was talking a lot about individual identitarianism versus concrete solidarity, which he called it. He was describing the tribes have devolved into this individualism, where it's like we use the word tribe even colloquially in this conversation. I mean, like, oh, I got to find my tribe, but like it's not really like a tribe. And I think that's linked to this sense of domicile that we feel of like loss of place, is because it's also a loss of people. And it's like, and when it feels like people are expendable, then you realize, oh, I'm also part of this expendable network of people that could change at any time, instead of it being really grounded and rooted. So yeah, I don't know exactly what to make of that per se, because I think friendship, there's also people who talk about there's different kinds of friends. There's some friends who are with you for the moment. There's some friends who you'll leave and come back to in the future. And there's always, friendship's a beautiful thing.
I think your poem really expressed it well, Sam, because you talked about how it made you. And that's how I think of these things, like all these relationships that we have in the world with people, whether they're actual or whether they're in the past or whether they're coming upon us and we're not aware of them yet. Those are making us, and they're not lost. Like I was listening to an audiobook that I have and by John O'Donohue, and he was talking about the dead and how he feels like the dead are all around us and they are actually impacting our lives. They're full of concern and love for us. We shouldn't disturb their world, in his opinion. We shouldn't try to move in and access it. But we should be in conversations of gratitude to the dead for being with us, right? And so, and I, this is one of the things that I found really interesting, like in my journey towards orthodoxy, was the whole concept of the dead. Like one of my priests said to me once, there are no dead people in Christianity. I'm like, oh yeah. Because I grew up in a culture of, oh, he's gone, he's dead. Is he with the Lord? I don't know. Maybe he's burning in hell. Like there was all this. It just took a whole different tone, right? And then I actually had moments, like I used to talk to my grandmother all the time before I even knew about orthodoxy, and ask her for her advice and and stuff like that. And now I'm like, oh, this is like fantastic. I can actually ask George MacDonald to illuminate some of his writings. I can talk to Charles Bukowski. I can talk to. It's so good.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And I really appreciate it. I think in Christ, yeah, all that is possible, and that's like how it's. Yes. He like makes all things like whatever. It's like all things are His, including those who've gone.
When I read a D.H. Lawrence, Christ is God. Yeah, like when I read a D.H. Lawrence poem, I just go, "Thank you so much," out loud. I'm not doing seances. I'm not lighting candles and trying to get in touch with them, But I'm like, no, I know He's there. I know He is.
I mean, that's what kissing an icon is.
Exactly.
And yeah.
The supras, I just did 2 supras this last week, which is wild. I've done like 5 my entire life. So, and there's one of the major parts of the feast is that the 5th toast is always to those who've gone beyond. And we remember those. And if you're with a good Orthodox group, someone will at the end will sing Memory Eternal, and it'll just be so like rich. Yeah.
Yeah.
because I mean, there's real hope there. I mean, it's like now you can become like now, because like very nihilistic thought is I could have thought before, oh, I'm here and I'm gone, and then it's like a flash in the pan, and what's the point? Like, no one will remember me, and but it's like, no, actually, I'll have enduring legacy in this life. I think about St. Paul writing about like the Romans wanting glory, honor, and immortality, and he's like, dude, yeah, go after that by doing good, and like Jesus will give you eternal life, and it's like immortality. I think like we still talk about St. Paul. He achieved it. You know what I mean? Like he is always going to be with us in Christ. It's like go for it, and that's eternity is placed in our hearts, and it's not just like it used to be for me, like this far off thing, like, oh, when I die, I'll be in eternity, but it's like, no, it's coming now.
It's now.
It is now. Yeah. I read this. I mean, I listened to John O'Donohue's Beauty, The Invisible Embrace. And unfortunately, the written version of this audiobook is like some stupidly abridged thing. It's like 18 pages. Meanwhile, the audiobook's 5 hours. And he reads it. John O'Donohue reads it. He's passed now. And he was talking about, the act of making love to a woman, or for him. And but what I found so beautiful about the way he describes it is this kind of intimacy. And I think that that's what we're all circling around a little bit. Home, the dead, previous relationships. There's an entwining together of our being with the being of the world, But he says something. Can I read it? It's just not too long.
Yeah.
Okay, so he says, it's so beautiful in the way Eros works in love between people. The instinct, rhythm, and this is the dance too, Rigel, that your thing was about this morning. The instinct, rhythm, and radiance of the human body comes alive wonderfully when we make love. We slip down into a more ancient penumbral rhythm where the wisdom of the body claims its own grace, ease, and joy. The act of love is rich in symbolism and in ambivalence too, because there is a darkness in Eros as well that can pull it towards chaos and the night. And it arises out of that temporary total threshold between solitude and intimacy, skin and soul, feeling and thought, memory and future. And when we make love, and it's a real expression, it can become an act of the greatest beauty, which brings celebration, wonder, delight, closeness, and shelter. The old notion of the soul being hidden somewhere deep within the body serves only to intensify the loneliness of the love act as the attempt of two solitudes to bridge the distance between them. But, however, here's my favorite part, when we understand that the body is in the soul, intimacy and union seem unavoidable, because the soul is as the radiance of the body, is already entwined with the lover before ever the bodies meet. And then he wrote a poem.
Wow.
It brings the poem that he wrote that I'm going to read is, he says, it brings the vulnerability and some of the brokenness together with the beauty of Eros. It's called Love Notes. Your clear shoulder, when the clothes have gone, seems so sure of us. Gently hands caress and kindle the glow the skin delights to know. Your tongue, a tiny peninsula, carves stretches longing to give way. Currents swell, calm flow, blue-flamed, and sea sweat beads flesh. Scruples of hair linger across your eyes. Order tossed to the wild. Sounds entwined say our names. The cry becomes a whisper to breathe clay open. And the return is from a distant kingdom where there were neither mirrors nor eyes. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Sherry bringing this stuff. Ah, so
I
good.
have to share John O'Donohue because he slays me. He does. He just slays me every time. I have a closing thing I want to read from him after that. But
Sure.
yeah.
Rigel, weren't you saying something about? I remember on Twitter I added you and was like, "Hey, talk to John. Here's about Eros." So I feel like you've probably got
Oh,
some
right.
like Eros related.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was riffing on the erotic synthesis idea. I don't remember what it was related to. But I mean, what I think of is the Divine Liturgy as the like ultimate erotic rhythmic dance. I mean, it doesn't get more synthetic and poetic on every sensory level, you know, that I could think of.
Yeah, like I just keep reiterating that the whole story is about a wedding.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the thing that happens after the wedding, bow, bow,
Mm-hmm.
bow.
Song of Solomon,
The
Holy of
song
Holies.
is Holy Holies. Okay, sorry, this is
That's what's so great about it too. It
This is
encompasses
why
the highest and the lowest. The fun. That's
yeah.
why it's funny. Funny humor is this is what I'm thinking about. Kids naturally get when you talk about like toilet humor. It's just funny, like body part
Oh
stuff
god.
humor. Because like St. Paul's, there's honorable and there's dishonorable part. Like with stuff, and he just means like stuff we cover, stuff we leave open. And
Yeah.
I think it's because they have a sense of like our bodies being like this bringing together of all of these disparate things. Like it's like a weird mix of like honor, dishonor, sacred, and like just ordinary. And that's what even John Donahue was reading this thing. It's like it's
yeah,
so sacred, but also it's just so earthy. It's so real all
yeah,
at once. It's like the top of the mountain coming together with the bottom of the mountain, and your attention being drawn to it. That's what the humor part is. Your attention is drawn to it because it's always happening. Like it's always
Yeah.
like. So
yeah.
then you're like, ooh, and it's just
It's
like
the marriage. It's the marriage of heaven and earth.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
yeah,
well, that's what Luke said. Whoa, the center of the torus. I mean, I think that's it. It's the. Sorry, I interrupted Sherry. What were you gonna say?
no, I'm just, part of the sneaky reason I read that was because I just want to break the ice on this. Like, let's get down and dirty about it.
Yeah.
Like, come on, let's stop skipping around the edges and saying all the nice things. It's like my niece, my sister wanted to get angry with her, and she goes, "Did you lie?" She goes, "No, I just told the nice truth."
Oh God.
So,
What an
it's like,
insightful.
let's stop talking about the nice truth, because it really is nothing. And it doesn't give people agency, in my opinion. Right? Like, if you're in a relationship with someone who you love and you're making love to them, there's no more feeling of being caught up in your own agency and yet also transcendence at the same time. Right? So that's where we need to be. And of course, it all has to be done with discernment and humility and gratitude. So that's why he makes the little note there where he says, and when we make love, and it's a real expression, it can become an act of greatest beauty, right? It's not just a taking. It's not just a, my husband, here, I got to tell you this quickly. My little grandson, he's 1.5 and he's just learning words. And he always wants to sit on my husband's knee when we eat dinner. He loves Papa. And so he sits on his knee, and and then he just sticks his finger right in my husband's food, whatever it is, mashed potatoes, right? And then my husband goes, "That's mine," right? "That's mine." So he's constantly going, no, because he's got a separate plate for Bo. And he's like, "This is yours and this is mine." But Bo wants all his food. So last night he sat down on my knee next to my husband, and he leaned over because he wanted to go to Papa. And he goes, mine. He wants, so he thinks Papa's food's called mine, right? So, but this is what we can do. This is where we can go wrong, is claiming it as our own, right? It's not our own. It's a shared communal experience with God, actually.
And Rigel, that's what I love about this space in particular, is that you're intentionally trying to craft it as a place where we are safe to, like, hospitably safe to, like, build the borders and then have the play within it. That, and that play, in my mind, is also the, like, interchange of all of that. That's why, yeah. I have a buddy who
Yeah.
doesn't get sports, and I'm like trying to like show him like sports are like the pinnacle, like one of the pinnacles of like all of this happening, like your agency and your creativity and your play and all. But anyways, and I feel like here is like there's certain there's certain things that this form allows. Like it's a lot more verbal play, obviously poetry, music, that kind of thing. I can't like tussle with you guys on on the screen like I might if I was in person. But there is still like music, everything that can be brought into and fuse this place with not just like endless
Debate.
Intellectualization.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, and that is definitely intentional. Partly just because I can't hang with hyper intellectualization. Like I can do a little bit here and there, but I just don't have like the chops. So what I know how to do is create this safe like sandbox for adults to play in.
And I feel like the arts, whether it's music or poetry or whatever it might be, it reminds me of the description of the sound of the divine liturgy, the chanting from the Hagia Sophia. It was described as that the sounds rained down on you because of the acoustics in the building. So, that the sound, that the music would rain down on you. And that reminds me of how we experience as human beings when we come into contact with the numinous. We experience what they call piloerection. So your hair and you get goosebumps, right? Which is like an uncontrollable thing that happens. Like it happens to you. You don't make it happen. Actually, somebody told me that they could make it happen to themselves. I think it's no. I was like, oh, of course you could. but it's when heaven comes down, right? Because this is heaven. Everything.
Yeah.
So, and that's to me like what Sam was talking about with this space. It rains down on you, right? And that, I think that's just the better way to let things penetrate.
Yes, and rain. This is great because rain used to be considered. Are you going there, Rigel? The mythological idea of rain was that it was like the gods giving you fertility for your soil, like that sort of idea. So just playing with that.
No, I was just going to say I am never using goosebumps again, and I am only using piloerection. That is my new favorite. That's like word of the month, going on the fridge.
I love, yeah, that's good. That's good.
Well, I am going to have to sign off here pretty soon.
Yeah.
But I want to let y'all have any last words, last little reading, anything that needs to be said that hasn't been said.
I've just still been thinking about anger, to be honest.
Yeah.
And the thing I was thinking about was like a volcano. And you talk about like, I mean, I feel like it's a phrase you use often, like bubbling up. I remember being in Nicaragua and looking down into a volcano and like it bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
And then last weekend, weekend before, I can't remember now. I was down south in Alaska, and it was a beach town called Homer, but it's a beach town with a boardwalk, and it's full beach and it's fishing, but there's mountains, and if you look off one of the directions, there's a volcano that you can see on a clear day. And so it's just a strange place to be among like seagulls and fishing boats and mountains and glaciers and a volcano. And I was thinking about how anger bubbles up and then erupts, but I was also thinking about how passion does that and eros does that. And it's almost like if you suppress it and push it down, then you'll have a full volcanic eruption that will affect everyone around you. And even that ash might spread to others that are even further away. But how creativity, other things too, but I was thinking specifically of creativity, is kind of a focused eruption of anger or passion.
Right. That's good.
And that can be incredibly productive and beautiful and good and necessary.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's good.
Love that.
Yeah. I'm just going to read a blessing from John O'Donohue that I thought was so beautiful. May the beauty of your life become more visible to you, that you may glimpse your wild divinity. May the wonders of the earth call you forth from all your small secret prisons and set your feet free in the pastures of possibilities. May the light of dawn anoint your eyes, that you may behold what a miracle a day is. May the liturgy of twilight shelter all your fears and darkness within the circle of ease. May the angel of memory surprise you in bleak times with new gifts from the harvest of your vanished days. May you allow no dark hand to quench the candle of hope in your heart. May you discover a new generosity towards yourself and encourage yourself to engage your life as a great adventure. May the outside voices of fear and despair find no echo in you. May you always trust the urgency and wisdom of your own spirit. May the shelter and nourishment of all the good you have done, the love you have shown, the suffering you have carried, awaken around you to bless your life 1,000 times. And when love finds the path to your door, may you open like the earth to the dawn and trust your every hidden color towards its nourishment of light. May you find enough stillness and silence to savor the kiss of God on your soul and delight in the eternity that shaped you, that holds you and calls you. And may you know that despite confusion, anxiety, and emptiness, your name is written in heaven. And may you come to see your life as a quiet sacrament of service, which awakens around you a rhythm where doubt gives way to the grace of wonder, where what is awkward and strained can find elegance, and where crippled hope can find wings, and torment enter at last unto the grace of serenity. May divine beauty bless you.
Wow. Wow. What a beautiful way to end this. Thank you, Sherry. Well, Ethan, Sam stayed quite a bit longer than 10 minutes. I'm just calling you out, Sam.
Sam, you're listening like you're a treasure of I didn't know you were writing such great poetry, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, this was really rich. I feel like it came to a new level today. Yeah. So thank you all for participating.
Thanks for being here, Rigel.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Love it.
Summer solstice, June 20th. Hope you all.
I'm actually gonna write something.
Please. Yeah.
I'm gonna try. I haven't written for a long time. I've just been so busy, but I want to try to write about this. I don't know if I'll be able to, but I had a dream the other day, Rigel, that I was walking with the wind, and the wind was a person, and his silhouette was the kind of like shimmering in and out. I could only see the lines. Couldn't see any substance to the body. It was like see-through. But his face was made of dragonfly wings. And his eyes, and he was walking with me, and I'm like, wow. And we were in the forest. And it was one of those moments where I woke up and I was just like the tail end of this dream, and I grabbed it because it was I just knew that there was something fantastic, and that's all I can remember. He didn't say anything or nothing, but anyway, I want to try to write a poem about it, but I don't even know if I can.
I mean, that's Genesis. That's Genesis. Like Elohim shows up in the wind of the day to Adam and Eve.
Oh,
No
that's
way.
right. I never even thought of that, Ethan.
Yep.
Yes.
They walked in the wind. I mean, like, yeah. That's a big dream. I was listening to that.
Oh, that's
Till we have faces. She sees the God, and it's like she describes it as like a wind. We're just reading it by C.S. Lewis.
A wind?
Wow.
He's like describes it's like the God of the wind. Like when she first sees him, she's like this wind God, up on the mountain. Anyways.
Well, there's a little addendum to this, because I was wondering, where are you, God? Because I've been so busy. I haven't been talking. I haven't been writing. I haven't been reading. I've just been working, and it's been great. But I miss the communion, right? And so, because I'm a pretty solitude type individual, and I haven't had a lot of time for it. And I one morning nobody was up, and I was outside, and a dove landed on a fence post, a turtle dove, like a wild one. And I never see them here, like rarely. And I'm like, is that you? You're still here, right? And then the next morning, my husband and I were outside, and he goes, Sherry, look. And there it was again, same place. I said, I saw it there yesterday. Because I still doubted, where are you, God, right? And then the third night, I dreamt the wind. I was walking with the wind.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man, you bring up dragonflies right at the last minute. I have a thing with dragonflies. I mean, that chair back there is a dragonfly chair.
Whoa.
And the beauty of the dragonfly is, according to the internet, it's the only creature that both can hover and soar.
Ooh.
So it can do both. It can hover, go in all directions, and it can soar like a bird.
Yeah. Okay.
So, all right, we'll have to continue that on the other side. I should be here next Friday if y'all can make it. Okay. Wonderful. Bring something, and I'll see y'all.
Are any of you guys going to South Estuary by any chance?
I'm hoping to make it. I'm doing Midwestuary for sure. I'm hoping to come to South Estuary, but we'll have to see.
Okay,
we'll have to see about South Estuary. I may be able to make Midwestuary.
I just want to sit around and chat.
I know. It would be so great. Well, maybe, make it a road trip and stop by Austin on your way out from Canada.
Well, hopefully
and Alaska.
You're coming to visit me, so that's cool.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Lovely seeing you all.
Thanks, Rigel.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.